Duane Laflin here. Hello, FCM friends. So sorry to miss the online convention this past weekend. My wife and I had a business transaction that involved a journey and a lot of sort of weird steps to get the business deal done because of social distancing and being unable to directly communicate with people. So we worked through all of that and got it done. But it meant that there was no way I could be close to a computer or a camera to participate in the convention over the weekend. Now I'm back home and I'm wishing I could have been part of it, and I'm thinking about my FCM friends, so I thought, well, let's do something fun here. I'll post it and hopefully a number of you will find it, or you'll find it and you'll recommend it to someone else so they can find it, so they can watch this. But I'm just going to call it Welcome to My Magic Room. This is not a scripted lecture. This is not like my usual presentations where everything is just polished and organized very well. This time it's just going to be like, hey, we've come in, we're going to have some fun. Now, I think you all know I like to teach, and if we continue to be homebound, I'll probably do some serious teaching video and put it up. But I thought this time around, it's time to have fun. It's time to just do some silly stuff and hopefully some good magic. And I will toss in some gospel lessons and such too. But basically, welcome to a magic room. That's all I'm going to say. In the background, because I'm filming in my magic room, and it's not an ideal place for filming. So in the background, you hear noises. We're next to a street. You'll hear some vehicles. You'll hear the clip-clop of hooves. We live in Amish country right now because we have a contract out here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for shows. And so the horses and buggies go by often. So if you hear those noises, you know what they are, and just ignore them. So you come into my magic room, and you see this, and you say, wait a minute, Duane, I didn't know you did the cups and balls. I didn't know you did close-up magic. And actually, I recently had that happen. I was at a magic convention and by a dealer table, and a young man was trying to play with the cups and balls and having some trouble. So I took some time to work with him. And afterwards, when the young man walked away, the dealer behind the table said, Duane, I didn't know you knew how to do that stuff. I didn't know you did close-up. And I said, well, I love magic, and I can do close-up, and I do close-up for lay people. I just don't do it very often for other magicians because there are those who specialize in close-up and they've gone much farther with things than I have. So I figure they should teach it rather than me. And certainly with this trick, I mean, people do everything under the sun with the cups and balls. I still do the bare bones basic routine I learned a long time ago. I suppose there might be a few things over the years that have changed and made it mine, but still it's the basic routine. But nevertheless, let's have some fun with it. So it is said that this is the oldest trick in magic. Now, it certainly, when it was first done, wasn't done with fancy little stainless steel drinking cups. Back then, they probably did it with, I don't know, a clay pot, something like that. You could put water in, and maybe instead of using what I have here, 1, 2, 3 red balls, instead of that, who knows, they probably used rocks or something. But back then, it was done with rocks and pottery, and now I've got a fancy stainless steel cup and some red balls. But anyway, here's what would happen. The magician, the fakir, whatever he called himself, would try to convince people these cups are magic. He'd say, watch. We know it holds water, so the bottom must be solid. But if I put a ball there, I put a cup on top of it, snap my fingers like that, we suddenly see the ball is now down here. How did it pass through the bottom of the cup? Now, usually people weren't watching very carefully the first time, so he would say again, see, it holds water, it's solid as can be. I put the cup over it for a moment, snap my fingers, and the next thing you know, now we see it down here having joined the other little red ball. Or back in those days, of course, it would have been a stone. He said, and now we'll take the great challenge, the double challenge. We put another cup there, we put this cup up here, snap our fingers, and just like that, we don't see the ball there. We don't see the ball there, and we see 1, 2, 3 red balls right there. Now, back in those days, people would clap their hands and cheer like crazy because they already realized they'd seen something really astonishing. But then the magician, the fakir, whatever he called himself, would say, well, there's more to it. He said, see, 1, 2, 3. Now, don't forget the number. 1 ball, 2 ball, 3 red balls, 1, 2, 3 red cups. He says, so if I take this ball and I put it over here, then that leaves us with 2 red balls. If I take this red ball and I put it over here, that leaves us with 1 red ball. If I take this red ball and I put it over here, that leaves us with how many red balls? Well, the people would say, well, we don't have any now. And he would say, I told you, these are magic cups. Take a look. Once again, we have a red ball. And he said, even more amazing than that, I put the red balls all away, remember? But look at that. There is another red ball. And of course, people would guess what would happen with the third cup, but even so, they were impressed, and once again would clap and cheer because he would show that also under the third cup was a red ball. Well, by then, of course, people were very excited about this. This was quite an amazing and astonishing thing. But over the years, the trick has progressed, evolved, whatever you want to call it. And now sometimes magicians don't even do it with like the red ball thing. In fact, now sometimes a magician might do it with a baseball. Take a look at that. Yeah, it's and over here we've got another baseball, and over here we've got another baseball. They're not regulation-sized basballs. The cups aren't big enough for that, but I mean, they're the real thing. That's a solid ball, and of course, nowadays audiences just go crazy when they see an illusion like that. Okay, well, we'll keep playing here a little bit. So we've got 1, 2, 3 baseballs there, and we'll reduce it to just 1 cup. And in fact, let's just go ahead and 1 cup and 1 red ball. I'll use this one. A red bouncy ball. Now, this is a demonstration of sleight of hand, and it's really very simple. We've got 1 red ball. That's it. So I take the ball, I place it in my hand, I come around like this, and I remove the ball from my hand. There it is. I put it over here like this, and then I hold my hand as if there's a ball in it. Now, the reason I hold my hand as if there's a ball in it is because there is a red ball back in that hand. Now, as with the cups and ball thing, possibly people weren't paying close attention, so we'll do it again. We've got a red ball, 1 red ball, a bouncy ball, like that. I place it in this hand. I take a red ball out. Now, I might as well tell you, what I'm doing is creating an illusion. I'm moving my hand like this, sort of waving it around so you believe you see a red ball. In fact, some of you might be nudging your neighbor and saying, I know that's a red ball. And so when I put it away, you are convinced that there can't be a red ball over here. But of course, I didn't really take it out of that hand. I just made it look like I took it out of that hand. And of course, I made it look like I took it out of that hand, and I made it put it in the box or whatever I did. So I'll show it to you one more time. So I take the red ball, create the illusion that it's over there. Now, you're probably very sure that I did put it over there, but I didn't put it over there. No. And I didn't put it over there. Well, I'll do it for you one more time. So I take the red ball, create the illusion. I hope I'm not losing with this. But remember now, you're a guest in my magic room, and we're having fun. So I pretend like I put the red ball over there, but I know you're going to say it's still here. And you might be correct. Maybe you caught me, because this time around it could be easier to catch the fact that I'm not working with just 1 ball. I mean, this big white ball is very, very easy to see. So I don't know if you spotted me putting that in my hand or not, but whatever the case, that's the ball trick. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, I just shut the camera off for a minute to make sure that the recording is working the way it should be. I wish the lighting in here was better, but I'm assuming it's going to be good enough for what we're doing. Now let's back up and talk about what we just did. I'm not going to explain everything. I will say that some of the stuff I'm going to show, I'm showing because hopefully you like to see good magic. But I don't believe that I need to reveal all my secrets. I have a job, and that is to keep learning and growing as a performer, to kind of stay ahead of the game. So I create new things that eventually I work through and then I pass on. So anyway, I'm not going to tip everything I do, but I certainly want to share enough that I can be helpful. And so if you're new to this or you're playing with the cups and balls, there's a couple things here you can do. So anyway, my cup and ball routine is, I think, about as basic as you can get. When I first started in magic many, many years ago, before there was such a thing as the internet, before there was YouTube, everything was books. And one of the first books I got was the Classic Secrets of Magic by Bruce Elliott, and in my opinion is still one of the best books out there. It's a great, great book. And this cup and ball routine I learned from his book. I have discovered over the years, if I go back to the books that I learned from, it's amazing how somehow I've kind of developed in a way that my routines now aren't what I learned from the book, but I think they still are because I know I learned them from the book. It's just as you do things that they evolve, they change a bit. But I know that I got started with the cups and balls from that book. Very simple idea. You have a ball in the bottom cup. You have 3 balls in the top cup. And this is basic stuff for most of you. So I'll go through it very quickly. I just want to toss in some nuances, some things that you might find helpful. For example, instead of just immediately counting the cups down fast like that so the red ball doesn't fall out, I think it helps to be a little more casual because people tend to remember things not exactly in the way that they happen. So if I take that first cup and I say, well, obviously they didn't have a stainless steel drinking cup, and I just sort of hold it in my hand like this for a minute before I put it down, I think that it sort of subtly makes the people think that they saw everything. They saw, all that they could see. And I'm just emphasizing the whole idea. These were made to hold water, which suggests that they are drinking cups of some sort and solid as it can be. So then you have the 3 balls in the last cup, and this is very basic stuff because the ball is underneath there. So when you put the one on the top, you show the one that was hidden. So we know this stuff, so I'll just keep going fast. The extra ball in here goes there. So now we've got 2 underneath. And then for the 3rd one, we go up 1, we go up 1. And this, I don't know where I learned it. I think possibly out of Jerry Menser's book, which goes, I think, way back to the 70s. But when you take the cup off, if you keep it right, it'll tip that red ball into the cup. I'll show it to you this way. So if you tilt it this way, it pulls the ball off. So I don't do it every time because I don't want to call attention to it. But the last time I pull it off this way, and like I'm looking for the ball, and I didn't see the ball there, I didn't see it there, and of course you end up with 3 balls under the cup. So I'm going fast because this is basic stuff. But I have now a ball in this cup. I'm going to put it in the middle. This is something that not everybody does, but if you've learned just a basic cup ball routine, you might want to add this to it. Now remember, there's 1 cup underneath, or ball underneath. And by the way, earlier I think I called the cups red. I get tongue-tied because I'm talking to myself. There's nobody in here. So I tend to distract my own self as I'm thinking while I'm talking. But anyway, so you say you're going to take the ball and put it away. Well, keep it retained in your hand. And there's 1 hidden under there, but you're not going to show that now. You just keep this one retained in your hand. So when you come out to take the second one, you pick the cup up to tilt this off into your hand. And as you do, you drop the second ball in. So that puts a cup under there, ball under there. Pretend to put this away, keep it in your hand, and the same thing. As you tilt it this way, you drop the ball in that way. And so there we are, we're still a ball under each cup. Now here's the thing that I think might be most helpful. And actually when I mentioned the story of the magic dealer, this was the thing that even the magic dealer didn't seem to know. And to me this is 101. I mean, this is basic magic. You should know it, but sometimes people miss the basics. Now we've got 3 red balls under 3 cups. We want to get the baseballs into the cups. Obviously, we don't want the audience to see us do this. So how do you get the baseballs into the cup smoothly? So, you've picked up the baseball, you've got it in your hand, and this is not a fancy palm. I'm just literally kind of holding it in my hand like this. Turn my hand away so they can't see it. I pick up the cup to show the ball. Now, the common mistake made with the cups and balls is you try to put the ball into the cup. So you pick it up this way, you kind of reach over, or sometimes you kind of go like this, and no matter what you do, it looks a little bit suspicious because you're moving toward the cup. So you listen, I'll say it this way, you don't put the ball in the cup, you put the cup over the ball. So don't take the load to the cup, take the cup to the load. So instead, as we're all looking there, I pick the cup up, and the cup goes over to my hand. This hand doesn't move. If it moves, it'll call attention. It just stays still like there's nothing there. I put the cup there. Now the cup is right on top of the load. As I pick the ball up, I tilt the load into the cup. And instead of really quickly slamming this down as if I'm trying to do something I hope people don't see, I just casually hang onto this thing and even kind of stick it mouth up, just tilted back toward me. So it just seems like the most casual thing in the world. I put it down. Now the first load is in. Put this away. I pick up the second baseball. Now this time I'll do it in real time so you see how it goes. So I pick the second one up and I say, look at that. We've got another red ball. and down it goes. And so I did the same thing. I put the cup over the ball. This time I'll slow down for you. Here's a ball. I pick this up. I don't try to go like this. I don't try to move the load into the cup. If your hand moves toward the cup, he's going to have a tough time making this look good. I pick this up. I put it right down over the load, like that. Up like that. And by the way, I don't know how this is going to look on the camera. I've discovered when I do the routine in real time, it usually looks fine. But when I'm playing to a camera and explaining things, sometimes I don't pay attention to angles like I should. But I'm assuming you understand in regular performance, nothing flashes here. So anyway, it's like this. I pick it up, I put it over that, and as I pull this ball away, I put the whole thing down again. So now I've got a big ball under every cup. Now another thing I think is real important is the whole idea of the power of a pause and the power of timing. So I'm going to put this away and I'm going to pick up the big red ball because I want it under there for the next trick. So it's just in my hand. Well, I'm going to take some time, comment about nowadays instead of using the red balls, they use like a baseball, and that's going to be a surprise to the audience. So I pick that up. There's the baseball. Same thing. This goes over the ball in my hand. I just let this one, I don't know if I can show it from the back, but I just set it down and I just tilt enough the ball rolls in it because it's a hard rubber ball. Now I pick this up and I put that down, let that be forgotten about, and then take my time to show, whoa, there is a baseball over here and there is a baseball over here. 3 cups, 3 balls, and this is your applause cue, and this is how you've ended. So that's basically my routine with the cups and balls. And then of course I put this away and I go into the routine with the red ball with the big white ball ending. And I will tell you, this routine I'm working out for our illusion show this year, in our illusion show, our big stage show. I have to do about a 1-minute fill in front of the curtain as we set up an aerial act. And I wanted something that could be, that I could handle very simply, no complicated setup. And so I got the idea that I'm working on with this. So it's the idea of it's the red ball, the white ball ending. You show the red ball, and it is a bouncy ball. Show the red ball, place it in your hand, reach over like this, and you take it away. There it is. And when you come back, you've still got your red ball. I'm not going to tip that one. Sooner or later I might, but I'm still working on it. But anyway, enough said on that. Let's move on to something else. If you were a guest in my home and were visiting in my magic room, then what just happened would have happened, including you. And that is, my wife Mary said, it's time for supper. Mary has the gift of hospitality. Right now we have Robert Morris staying with us. And when Mary says it's time to eat, it's time to eat. So we stop everything, take time to eat. And now I'm back. And I'm going to stick with close-up ideas for the rest of this particular production. Mainly because most of you have not seen me do close-up type things. So I think it'll be fun for you to see me doing something different. And also because I am filming in the magic room and I don't have much space, it's easier to show you some close-up type things. This is something that I pretty much use anytime I do close-up work. It's the story of 2 rabbits that fell in love. There was a boy rabbit and a girl rabbit, and they fell in love. And he said, will you marry me? And she said, yes. So he gave her a 2-carat ring. She ate both of them. But then they had a problem. I mean, of course, their wedding, I should explain, the wedding was very nice. They could afford it. They were millionaires. And when she walked down the aisle, everyone sang, "Here comes the bride." It was beautiful, but there was a problem after all of that, and that is, where were they going to live? They needed a place to stay. Well, the husband decided he could find a good place to work. He had an idea. He said, I believe that I could work at a hospital. They might let me specialize in operations. But he said to his wife, honey, you've got to stay home, and I want you to be safe while you're home. So I need someone to hold her tight. Well, at this point, normally would put the rabbit into a spectator's hand, but this hand is going to be the part of the spectator now. And the rabbit said, I'm going to go off to work. And he did. He off to the hospital he went, and he worked hard. He was a very, very good worker. But I will tell you that he thought about his true love all the time. And when the work was finally over, you would not believe how quickly he arrived back by her side. In fact, we're going to show it to you right now. You say to the spectator, hold your hand over the table. On the count of 3, open your hand. 1, 2, 3. And just like that, look at that. The rabbit is back by her side. Oh, the power of love. But I know what you're wondering. Duane, did these 2 little creatures live happily ever after? And I'll explain to you that things weren't always perfect for them. They had some challenges. So now I placed them back in the spectator's hand like that. Yes, they had some challenges. In fact, one challenge came along, and then another, and then another, and then another. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Open your hands slowly over the table so everyone can see. Ah, yes, the little challenges in the forms of all these baby bunnies, and for them life truly did turn out to be a hair-raising experience. And that's the story of bunny love. Now, a couple things to say about this. First of all, I came up with this routine many, many years ago, and I came up with it in response to how the general world behaves, the magic world behaves, when it comes to the idea of multiplying rabbits in a spectator's hand. And that is almost always, at least in the days when I began, this was done with sexual innuendo, with off-color remarks, that sort of thing, about where babies come from and so on. And with my style, my Christian commitment, I just wasn't going to do it that way. And I said, I'm going to make up my mind to show that as a believer, as somebody who wants to take the high road in life, I can do the multiplying bunnies and have all kinds of fun with them without having to go down that route that I don't want to go down. So I went to work on the routine, and it is as you've just seen. My handling is simple. Even if I can do a good sleight of hand move, and I can do sponge ball moves and different things like that, and I would say that I can hold my own with that sort of thing. But even if I can do a move, I would rather, if there's a simple way to do a trick in a simple way. You know, in other words, why make it difficult when it's unnecessary? And as far as I'm concerned with this trick, there's no reason to make it difficult. I have no sleights of really any kind involved with this particular routine. Instead, I just have a third big bunny. And so I take the babies at the start, and I have a little clip. This is actually a chip clip. And instead of using it like this, if you do it this way, it's hard to get the bunnies out because the clip hangs on too tight. So I clip the clip on something inside my little box, and then I stick the bunnies in the top area of it, like this. So now they're not actually being pinched. They're just sort of in the slot there. I come over like that, and I grab them, and I've got them all at once. So the bunnies are over here in my little box, and they are down inside of that clip. So I have 3 bunnies, big bunnies. The audience only knows about 2. I take one, fold it up small, it's sponge, so it squeezes up easy, and I just have it in my hand. And it's great because when you're holding the bunnies, the bunny that you're holding covers the fact you've got something in your hand, so there's really nothing to worry about here. So you show the rabbits when it's time to put the rabbit in the spectator's hand. You take the rabbit in the hand where the extra bunny is, and you simply fold it around the other bunny. So you just grab it and fold it around, you put it in the person's hand. They think it's 1, but it's 2. You take this one, you put it away, you really do put it away, but when you put it away, you grab the load of baby bunnies. So now I've got all these baby bunnies squeezed up in my hand. When the spectator opens the hand and discover 2 bunnies, people are impressed, surprised by that, and typically they think that's the trick. But now remember, I've got these baby bunnies in my hand. So I grab the rabbit again, and this time I put one big rabbit on the other one, because we're talking about did they live happily ever after. I fold them both around the baby bunnies, and then all is left to do is for the person to open her hand or his hand, and out come all the little guys to illustrate life being a hair-raising experience. And I just realized I forgot the tagline on the routine. It happens when I'm talking to a camera and nobody's in the room. So when you're done and all the babies come out, you say life for them was a hair-raising experience, and the moral of the story is you're no bunny until somebody loves you. And so you've got a nice tagline to finish up the routine. So that's it. Another close-up idea with the multiplying bunnies. Another one of my favorite little close-up bits, I love doing this especially for kids, it's the story of 3 little rabbits, hop, skip, and jump. That's right, hop, skip, and jump. Now, hop lives over here in my hand, skip lives over here, jump lives over there. Now you may wonder, why is jump called jump? Because he jumps. Say jump. If you say jump, just like that, look, there's little hop, there's little skip, and jump has joined them. How did that happen? We'll try it again. So here we go. Hop lives right here. Skip lives right here. Jump lives over here. But if you say jump, jump jumps from over here, and he's right back there with little hop and little skip. Well, I have to tell you, one time something happened that was kind of sad. There was little hop at his house where he was supposed to be. There was little Skip. He and Hop were having fun playing around, and Jump was over at his house, and everybody was waiting for Jump to jump from his house over to their house, and they said, "Jump," and he didn't jump. No. Instead of jumping, Hop, and Skip skipped, and they weren't there after all. Now some people say, well, why did they all go over to Jump's house? Well, the answer is the big bully bunny had come along. And when the big bunny comes along, they decide rather than playing over by Hop and Skip's place, they play over where Jump lives. And that's the story of Hop, Skip, and Jump. Okay. So basically balls to the pocket done with rabbits. And again, most of this is basic stuff, just a little different personality I may put on it. So you've got a larger bunny, and it's set over in your box or in your pocket or wherever it's going to be. You've got 4 little bunnies. They only think you have 3. So the first time around, one is squeezed up in your hand. When you pick up the one they see, you put the one that they don't see also in your hand. Basic stuff. Second one goes in the hand. You pretend to put this one in the box, but you squeeze it in your hands. When you come back, there's 3, and you've still got 1 in your hand. So when you do it the second time, again, you put 2 in your hand, when it looks like 1. Put the second one in your hand. Really put this one away. Still got 3 bunnies. Last time around, you pretend to put them in your hand, but you don't. So it looks like you put him in your hand, but I'm just pinching him right back up into my hand as it goes. So it looks like he goes in, but he doesn't. I actually set this one on the top of my hand. It looks like I pushed him in, but I pulled him out. Take the third one, I set it aside. When I set the third one aside, I grab this bunny, and the way I grab it is like this, so it pinches in half and goes up into my hand. And by the way, I know on camera and stuff, it looks like I have big hands, but I actually don't. You'd be surprised if you met me in person. My fingers and hands are thick, but they're not that big. So you don't have to have big hands to do this. So I grab it like that, it's in this hand. So I say Hop hopped and Skip skipped, and they all went over to his house. Now, with a little body language, I turn like this to look over there, and as I turn, since I'm looking that way, the audience tends to look that way, and it gives me cover to flip the big bunny back into this hand. And then all I have to do is open up my hand, and there it is. So it looks like this. So we open the hand this way, hop, hop, skip, skip. Now we're wondering what happened over there. And of course, they went that way because the big bunny came to town. And as crazy and bold as that move is, I have done it right under the noses of audiences at restaurants and various places, and the appearance of the big bunny is always a big surprise. Enough said about that. Now something with cards. 4 little cards on the back are crosses. I'll talk more about the meaning of the crosses in a moment, but first we want to talk about the front of the cards. On the back of the cards we see a cross. On the front of the card we see nothing. Nothing. Cross on the back, nothing on the front. That's what we see. Now the reason we see this, the reason I'm showing us this, is because when it comes to purpose and meaning of life, some people feel like they just can't find answers. Nothing works. There doesn't seem to be anything out there that brings them happiness, that brings them peace, that brings them hope. Well, if they feel like that is the case, there's nothing out there, that doesn't mean there's nothing out there. It just means they've not yet found the answer. So now we're going to put the cards down like this. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And I asked the volunteer to take 2 fingers, one from each hand, and touch 2 of the cards. So let's say the volunteer touches these 2. All right? These 2 go over here. 2 cards left. I say to the volunteer, put your finger on one of the cards and push it toward me. So the person pushes a card like here, and I say, okay, that puts 3 over here and 1 here. Now again, we're talking about the fact that some feel like when it comes to purpose and meaning and significance and hope in life, there's nothing there for them. They have not found any kind of answer. There is a place to look, to find answer, to find meaning, to find purpose, to find a reason to live. This brings us back to the crosses on the back of these cards. A decision about the cross is what makes life completely new, different, and wonderful, and filled with everlasting blessing and hope. Now I asked the person to make a decision about choosing cards here, but let's say that decision represents someone who says, all right, I'm going to check out what happened on the cross of Calvary. I've heard about Jesus Christ dying on the cross. I'm going to discover what it means for me. that person checks out the story and discovers Jesus Christ is real. And not only is he real, he's the one who died on that cross to pay for our sins, but rose again to give us everlasting hope. And when we put our trust in him, we have everlasting hope. Instead of a life where it seems like there's nothing out there, we have a life where it seems like there's everything out there. Meaning, significance, purpose, understanding, answers, love, peace, joy, and the list goes on and on and on. The lesson is, come to the cross. Make a decision to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Very simple idea. I do have a big version of it that I use on stage, but I designed this for those situations when you're sitting at Waffle House or wherever and you're talking to somebody and you can pull a trick out of your pocket and use it to share your faith. Or maybe you're in a small little Sunday school class, you know, maybe 10, 12 people or whatever. This is the kind of thing you could put on the table to make a really nice lesson. It's nothing more than 4 cards, 3 of which are blank and 1 has a Jesus face on it. And then I do the same move with these cards that I do with our Russian rings and several other tricks, if you're familiar with those. And that is, it's called the frustration count. And what it means is you take one of the cards and you, I'll start the setup. So the card you want to hide is the second one from the bottom. 2 on top, 1 underneath. And this card will never be seen, but it's going to look like people are seeing all 4 sides of all 4 cards. And the way that you do it is you show the back of one card, show the front, okay? Then you lift this one card off, show the back of the next card and show the front, but this is the same front they saw earlier, but it looks like a different front. You show the back, you show the front, you show the back, you show the front, and it looks like you've shown all 4 cards. So let me run through that again. The Jesus card is second from the bottom. And this card right here is the only one that I'm going to show blank, but it's going to seem like I showed 4 blanks. So I say I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3, I've got 4 cards. And it creates the illusion that they've seen all the sides of all the cards. I'll do that for you one more time. It's very simple. Get some cards in your hand, experiment with it. But you just turn your hand to show the blank bottom, lift the top one off, show the same blank bottom, lift the next one off, same blank bottom, lift the next one off, and so on. And it really does make it look like they saw 4 blank cards. The rest of it's magician's choice, but when you can put things on a table, magician's choice works so wonderfully. You have them touch any 2 cards. If they touch 2 that are not the Jesus card, you set them over here. If they touch 2, one of which is the Jesus card, you still take the same 2 and set them aside. So it doesn't matter if they touch these 2, you set them aside, or if they touch these 2, you still set these 2 aside. You say this leaves us with 2. But now, you want to do something different, so you say, take your finger and push one of the cards toward me. If they push the Jesus card toward me, I take that one and set it aside. If they push the blank one toward me, well, I take the one that's blank and I set it, oops, that's a Jesus one. They touch the blank one toward me, I pick it up and put it with those and leave the Jesus for them. I better say that again, I confused myself. So, they touch 2, let's say they're the blank ones, we set them aside. 2 left, push 1 toward me, in this case this one's the Jesus card. So if they push the blank toward me, I pick up the blank and put it right there. Very natural, leaves me with the Jesus card. If they push the Jesus toward me, I pick up the blank and I put it on the pile. So you've still got 3 blanks and you've got Jesus. So it looks like they had a free choice, but in the end, you controlled the matter and you made a lesson about coming to the cross, learning who the Savior is, and finding great purpose, meaning everlasting significance in life. As much as I enjoy sharing with you all by way of video, I'm going to try to keep this video relatively short, simply because I've discovered with so many different people putting things up on video, most folks aren't sitting for a real long time. So I wanted this video to be longer than a half hour, but less than an hour, which means this is the last thing I'm going to show. And this particular thing I'm showing because this coming Sunday is Easter Sunday. This is a routine I developed many years ago. I've used it in a number of teaching situations, but I don't think I show it very often in gatherings of FCM members. It's based on a trick most of you know. The idea is that you get 5 volunteers up in front, and you say, we're going to discuss something that some people say is a problem, and that is there are so many religions in the world. All kinds of different religions in the world. So how can we know which religion is the right religion? That's what some people think is a problem. They say, well, you know, religions, they're all different, and yet they're still all kind of the same. So pick the one that you want. Well, I don't believe all religions are the same. I believe there is a critical difference for everybody to understand. And I'm going to illustrate that with these cards. On these cards, we have pictures of people that relate to religion. I'm not going to tell you who they are yet. I'll just mix the cards till you tell me to stop. Of course, somebody says stop. Say, now we're going to make 2 piles out of the cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards here. Now at this point, you're working with volunteers, and you're going to spell out the statement, Jesus died for my sin. And assuming most of you know how this works, I'm going to go through this fairly fast, but you say to the person, pick a pile, first person, pick a pile, we're going to spell the word Jesus. So they pick this one, and you also give them the option of switching anytime they want from one pile to another as you spell. For example, I might go J-E, and they would say switch, and then I would go S-U-S. That gives me 2 cards. Now these 2 cards get set aside to the person who just did the spelling. So I'm going to stand them right here for now. So that person is holding these. Now we continue. Jesus, of course, was a religious leader, but we're talking about many religious leaders. So we're going to go with another word, and that word is died, because Jesus Christ did die. So shall we use this pile or this pile? If they say this pile, D-I-E-D, this time the person didn't want me to switch halfway through or whenever. So this gives me 2 more cards, which I take, and I set aside. I give to another person to hold. Now I don't have people up here. This is my magic room, so just try to keep track of these. I'll stack the pairs in various places as I go. Jesus died for, so let's say they pick this pile, F-O, then they say switch, and you go R. And again, it doesn't matter which pile they pick. It doesn't matter how many times they say switch. When you've spelled the word, you take the 2 and set it aside. Jesus Christ died, we'll put these right here, for. Now the next word is my. We'll spell my, M-Y, M. Let's say they want me to spell 1 with each pile, Y like that. Jesus Christ died for my. And now we've got 1 word left, sin. S-I-N, which gives me 2 cards here, and it gives me 2 cards here. Now again, I'm assuming most of you who are watching know the principle this is based on, and what I want to show you is just the message idea. So now we've got 5 people up front, and each one is holding a pair of cards. And I turn to one of them and I say, are you holding a picture of a religious leader? Yes, I am. And it's going to say Krishna. Now Krishna was a founder of a faith, very popular in countries such as India, and he had all kinds of ideas about how to be spiritual and so on. But Krishna is somebody who died. And when he died, he stayed in the grave. He died, and that was the end of him. So let's see what we have here. Do we have a religious leader? This time we come up with Buddha. And you mentioned how Buddha has influenced thinking, especially in Asian countries. And many look to Buddha as the person who gives them ideas about how to live their lives. But you know, he's another one who's dead. He's not in the world yet today. When he died, and that was the end of Buddha. So we're going to go to this pair of cards. Now this is very unusual. You probably wouldn't have expected this one. Harry Houdini. You say, wait, he wasn't a religious leader. Well, he wasn't, but in the final years of his life, he got very interested in Spiritism, and he began to check out seances and such to see if there was truth to them. And he said, if there is truth to such a thing, I'll be back. Hold a seance on Halloween, and if there's anything real to it, I will express myself by way of the seance. Well, there's a great story. We could say a lot about it, but the essence of it is Houdini died like everybody dies, and he's not been heard from since. His widow held seances for years to come on Halloween Day. Houdini has never emerged. Houdinis have tried it over the years, and he doesn't come back because there's nothing to Spiritism. He died, he stayed in the grave. Well, here's a religious leader, another religious leader you may not have thought of, Mary Baker Eddy. She was the founder of Christian Science, and she had all kinds of different ideas about sin doesn't exist, and when you die, you're not really dead. In fact, she said, if they put me in a casket when I die, just check it out or put a phone in it. I don't remember what exactly the full story was, but basically she said she'll be back. You'll just think I'm dead, but I'm not. But no, she died and she stayed dead. That's what everybody does. So we've got all these religious leaders, and so far, with every one of them, no matter what the teaching, no matter what the story of life, at the end they died, and that was the end of it. We have another religious leader, this time Muhammad. And he, of course, is the prophet for the Muslim faith. And many people are very, very aggressively committed to his teachings. But you know, when he died, he stayed in the grave as well. He didn't come back. Well, we've got 2 cards left, and I look to the person and I say, do you have a picture of a religious leader? Yes, the person says, I do. Jesus Christ. That's right. We spell Jesus died for my sin. Now, how is Christianity different from other religions? Is it true that all religions are the same? Well, let's look at the other card. What does it say? Rather than dead, it says alive. The thing that makes Christianity different, the thing that makes believing in Jesus Christ different from any and all other religions, is he is the only one who came back from the grave to prove that he knew what he was talking about, and what he said about life after death, what he said about God, is absolutely true. Religions are not all the same. You could say there's all the other religions in the world who are founded by people who died and stayed dead, and there's one based on the fact that someone actually came back from the grave to prove he knew what he was talking about, and that is Jesus Christ. So that's the idea. And again, these are old cards. I've been using them for years. I should probably update the look and stuff now. And I've actually not done the routine in some time, because normally I dig it out around Easter. But it's that card match principle, which I'm not going to take time to explain here, because most of you already know how it's done. And if you don't know how it's done, come to an FCM conference, and there'll be lots of people who can teach you. It's a self-working trick. But I think the idea of matching up religious leaders with dead, 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 and Jesus is alive, I think that's fantastic and perfect for this Easter season. I know I said I'll keep this short, and I was going to stop with the last trick, but I'll put one more on this. It's another simple idea, a variation of things you've probably seen me do before, but an insight on handling that might be helpful to you. This is something I came up with, I don't know how many years ago, and it came out of a personal experience. Every morning I take long walks, and I've done this for years and years and years, and every now and then I'll notice a bird dead on the pavement that's been hit by a car, and every time I'll see a bird like that, I think of the verse that says that God knows when a sparrow falls. In the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verses 29 through 31, we are told that that the Lord knows what happens to a simple bird, and the idea is if he knows when any time any sparrow falls, he certainly knows what's going on in our lives, and if he cares for the birds, he certainly cares for us. Well, that's a truth that means a lot to me, and I just thought it would be nice to illustrate it by way of a magic trick for the kids in church. So I came up with this, and I showed them at the start that we have a picture of a sparrow, and then we have pictures of trees. All these trees. And with these trees and the sparrow, we're going to talk about getting lost in the forest. And the way we're going to do this is try to mix these cards up. And it's an easy way to mix them. I just put one here, and I put one here, and I put one here, and I put one here, I put one here, and I put one here, and I put one here. And when I do that, it moves things all around. Now we're going to mix the cards, and once we're done mixing them, we're going to spell the word cares. C-A-R-E-S, and we'll see what happens. All right? So, now here's how it goes. 3 people from the audience get to help. Stay where you are. But each of you simply tell me, mix them again or don't mix them. So to the person over there, shall I mix these again? Yes. Okay, so we mix them around. And you watch all the cards get moved around to a new place. I wonder where that sparrow might be. Okay? Now we'll go to the person in the middle here. Shall I mix them or not? No. Okay, we're going to keep them just the way they are. How about you over there? Shall I mix them or not? Okay, you want me to mix them. Okay, so we do it again, like this. So we move them all around like that. Whoops, there we go, like that, like that, like that. And now, you made your choices. We could have had 3 mixes, but instead it was 2. You chose, if you chose not to mix them, I wouldn't have mixed them at all. But now we're going to spell that word cares. C-A-R-E-S. Cares. What does Matthew 10, 29 through 31 say? God knows every time a sparrow falls. And if he knows that, he knows how we're doing. Well, in the midst of all of these trees, we spelled cares, and we found the sparrow. The only sparrow in amongst all these trees. We found him easy. We went directly to him as we spelled the word cares. And that's a simple little illusion that reminds us God knows no matter what's going on in our life, no matter what our burden, no matter what our struggle, He knows where we are, He knows what we need, and if He cares for even the birds of the air, He certainly cares for us. That's the trick. That's a routine. This is based on the 7-card trick. I'm sure there's other names for it. But the idea is that if you have 7 cards and you put 1 card in, the 5th down. So I've got 2 under, 4 above. The sparrow is the 5th card. If you have that, if you mix the cards in this way, so I simply take 1 off the top, put it here, 1 there. There's no sleight of hand, nothing sneaky here. I'm just putting 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. It really does move them all around. At this point, each card's been moved to a new place. But if I pick up the smaller pile, which is 3, and put it back on top of the 4, the card in the 5th position always returns to the 5th position. So I'm mixing the cards all around like this, but when I'm done, the sparrow is going to be back in the 5th position, and of course there are 5 letters in cares, C-A-R-E-S, and it's going to bring me to the sparrow, C-A-R-E-S. There it is. Now, the challenge in this is to make sure the object or the public really gets the effect, the audience gets the effect. In other words, you want it to be good magic to help them remember the lesson. They remember the trick and they remember what you said. And to start with, when I used to do this trick, I would simply say to somebody, want me to mix them? And if they would say yes, I would mix them. And then I would say to the person, once I had them all mixed, want me to mix them again? If they said mix them again, and I would just keep going. They would say mix them or don't mix them. And although that was interesting, it never played as strong as what I'm doing now. And that is, instead of having one person make the decision, I have 3 people from the audience, 1 on one side, 1 on the other, 1 in the middle, and each one gets to decide, shall I mix them again or not? Okay, you want me to mix these or leave them exactly as they are? Mix them. So I do whatever the person says. So it's kind of the same thing as with one person, but for some reason the 3 people makes it different, and almost always at least one is going to say don't mix them. And I've actually done this where no one said mix. And I say, well, I didn't mix them at all. You want them exactly the way they are. Okay. So they understand there's 3 choices. We could have mixed them or not mixed them. So the idea is the cards get all moved around, and yet when you spell C-A-R-E-S, you've got your sparrow, and you're left with the trees. God always knows where we are. That's it. I guess you'd call it a little bonus. Thanks for tuning in and watching this. Basically, I just wanted to make a contribution to my FCM friends. I'm looking forward to the conference this summer. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to make that happen. I hope to come in with a lot of new ideas. I love to share, but not only do I love to share, I love how you share with me. The friendships I have in the FCM are amazing, and many of them have truly been lifelong friendships for me. And I'm looking forward to starting new lifelong friendships with new people I might meet this coming summer. So that's it for now, my contribution to the online FCM conference.